Believing something can be done paves the way for creative solutions. Believing something can't be done is pure destructive thinking. This applies to all situations, little and big. Political leaders who don't genuinely believe that permanent world peace can be attained will fail in their pursuit of peace, because their minds will be closed to creative ways to bring about peace. Likewise, the salesman who doesn't believe that that prospect can be sold won't sell that prospect. But, and this is the important part, you can find solutions to business and personal problems if you believe you can. You can find a way to buy a new, larger home if you believe you can. Belief releases your creative power. Disbelief puts the brakes on. Belief is basic to creative thinking. Now, here are 2 suggestions that are guaranteed to help you develop your ability to think creatively.
First, eliminate the word impossible from your thinking and speaking vocabularies. Impossible is a failure word. The thought, it's impossible, sets off a chain reaction of other thoughts to prove it's impossible. Second, conduct this experiment. Think of something special you've been wanting to do but felt you couldn't. Buying a new television, or taking a trip to Europe, or taking a dancing class, or whatever. Now, make a list of the reasons why you can do it. Many of us defeat our desires simply because we concentrate on why we can't achieve them. But for successful people, the only thing worthy of mental attention is why they can. So find the reasons you can do the special things that you want to do, and then put those reasons to work to accomplish them.
Dr. Wernher von Braun, the scientist who was so instrumental in our manned space flight program, once said something very significant. He said, "Man belongs where man wants to go." Now that's the kind of attitude that gets things accomplished, that gives rise to positive, creative thoughts. That's the exact opposite of the kind of thinking that holds so many people back. I call that kind of thinking traditional thinking. You see, traditional thinking is the enemy of creative thinking. The traditional thinker's mind is paralyzed. The traditional thinker says, it's been this way for 100 years, so it must be good, and it's got to stay this way. Why should we change? Well, I'll tell you why change is worth risking. Change is what brings about progress. Personal progress, work progress, world progress. If you want success, the only way you're going to get success is through change. Taking some risk, thinking of new, different, creative approaches to your work, your life. Average people always have resented progress. And in passing, let me define average for you. Average should be defined as the worst of the best and the best of the worst. Average people raised their voices in objection when the first automobiles appeared, on the grounds, they said, that it was natural for us to walk and ride horses. Average people protested when the airplane appeared because people somehow had no right or business flying. Around the turn of the century, a sales executive came up with what he called the scientific principle of sales management. Oh, it received a lot of attention in those days, even found its way into some textbooks. That principle stated that there is only one best way to sell a product, and the salesperson's job is to find that way and never deviate from it. Well, the truth is that there is no one best way to do anything. There's no one best way to mow a lawn, decorate an apartment, or run a business, or sell a product. There are as many best ways as there are creative minds. Nothing grows in ice. If we let traditional thinking freeze our minds, new ideas can't grow. So, here are some specific ways to fight traditional thinking.
Become receptive to new ideas. Welcome new ideas. Destroy those thought repellents. Won't work, can't be done, it's useless, or it's stupid. Become an experimental person. Break up your fixed routines. Expose yourself to new restaurants, new books, new theaters, or new friends. Take a different route to work some days, and take a different vacation this year. Do something new and different this weekend. If you work in distribution, develop an interest in production, accounting, finance, and the other elements of business. This gives you greater breadth and prepares you for larger responsibilities. Be progressive, not regressive. Don't say, that's the way we did it where I used to work, so we ought to do it that way here. But say instead, how can we do this better than we did where I used to work? Use forward progressive thinking in every facet of your life. Get up an hour earlier and do some daily planning, or think of some other way to vary your daily routine. Remember, traditional thinking is personal enemy number one of your Creative Success program.
Every day, we are reminded of one of the most basic facts of business life in this country. Successful businesses are always looking for new, innovative, and better ways of doing things. Automobile companies are constantly striving to keep up with the public's changing needs and desires. Advertising agencies constantly seek new ways to sell products. The food industry is always looking for better production and distribution methods. The search for improvement is vital, never-ending, and absolutely essential to the survival of competitive businesses. And by the same token, it's vital to the success of anyone who wants to improve his or her lot in life. Absolute perfection in any human endeavor is, of course, unattainable. This means that there's endless room for improvement. Successful people, like successful business, are always searching for a better way. You can do this too, as an important part of your personal program for success. Each day, before you begin work, devote 10 minutes to thinking, how can I do a better job today? And ask, what can I do today to encourage my employees? What special favors can I do for my customers? How can I increase my personal efficiency? This exercise is simple, but it's also very effective. Try it, and you'll find unlimited creative ways to win greater success.
I know where I come from. You know, somebody asked me, they said, Steve, why you work so hard? Because I'm running from my past. See, I'm running from my past. The person you see today is not who I've always been. God changed me, man. God turned me into this man. He been making me. God has been shaping me for a lot of years. It's like when you make mistakes. You make mistakes so you can learn. You don't learn from winning. You learn when you lose it. See, Michael Jordan, when I was telling you about them shots he made, the only reason he was making the game-winning shot, because they was losing. They was losing. You got to lose to understand the winning side of life. So I've always understood that much of my life. I done slid off track here with your question because I wanted to say something else. Whoa.
How to stay humble and grounded in a world where you're succeeding?
See, a lot of times when I'm talking, I go off into a story and then I forget where I was at.
I'll keep you on track.
I just had that moment just now. I knew y'all didn't know what I was doing because you stopped clapping. So I said, okay, cool, must be making law. Don't try to help me now. But listen, it's important to just remember where you come from. Just remember. That's the one thing that'll keep you humble. You have to remember where you're from and you have to be grateful because it can go the other way. See, you can want to be successful, but without God's grace and mercy, you won't become successful. So why would you get there and all of a sudden swell up? I'm the greatest now. No, you're not. No, you're not. You have to remember where you're from and you have to stay grateful. There's not a day that I don't thank God for this life he's given me. There is not a single day. Because when I was homeless, I made God a promise. I told God, I said, God, if you let me make it, if you just let me make it, when I get there, I'm going to tell everybody it was you. So that's my mission. See, let me show you this. Your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for. God made me famous and I made money. That was for my career. But his calling to me was to show other people how to get a house on the hill. So that became why I was famous. To show other people how to be this way. To cross across oceans to tell my story. To cross religious beliefs. When I sat with Your Highness yesterday, he told me that Islam, this is what he told me. I'm repeating directly what His Highness told me. He said that Islam believes in all faiths, that it is a religion of peace, that Islam believes in Muhammad the Prophet, in Jesus Christ, in all of it. That is what being a Muslim is. This is what he told me. He made me yesterday comfortable with who I was.
Sometimes you can figure it out. Sometimes there's no way to figure it out. Sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it gets in a knot. Sometimes it sails along. Sometimes it gets in reverse. See, that's not going to change. The last 6,000 years reads like this: opportunity mixed with difficulty. That's how it reads. It isn't going to change. The man says, well, then how will my life change? And the answer is, when you change. Whether I'm talking to high school kids or business executives, my message is always the same. Have you ever noticed that some people don't do well because they major in minor things? Whatever you do, check at the end of the week, the end of the year, and make sure you're not spending major time on minor things. Otherwise, you will wind up with a below-average life. Now, before I get to the 4 major lessons, here are 2 phrases to consider. First, life and business are like the changing seasons. That's one of the best ways to illustrate life. It's like the seasons that change. Frank Sinatra sings, life is like the seasons. Here's the second phrase. You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. Now, with those 2 key phrases in mind, here are the 4 major lessons in life to learn. The first is, learn how to handle the winter. They come right after fall with regularity. Some are long, some are short. Some are difficult, some are easy. But they always come right after fall. Remember, it isn't going to change. 2 key phrases in mind, here are the 4 major lessons in life. The first is, learn how to handle the winters. They come right after fall. Regularity. Some are long, short. Some are easy. But they always come right after fall. It isn't change. Key phrases in mind, here are the 4 lessons in life. The first is, learn how to handle the winters. They come right after fall. Regularity. Some are long, short. Some are but they always come right after fall. It isn't change. Key phrases, and here are the 4 lessons in life. The first is, learn how to handle the winter. Come right after regularity. Some are long, short. Some are but they all right after fall. It isn't change. Key phrases, and here are the learn how to handle the winter. Come right after short. Summer, but they all right after fall. Key phrases, and here are the handle the winter. Come right after fall. Years that we know of, that's pretty reliable. And what a great place for spring right after winter. If you were going to put it somewhere, that would be the place to put it. God is a genius. Hey, days follow nights. Isn't that terrific? Opportunity follows difficulty. Expansion follows recession. And all with regularity. You can count on it.
Everybody has fear. Everybody has fear. But you don't let your fear have you. Tonight, if you're going to do what God has called you to do, you have got to reverse the process. Stop exposing your fear. Bury your fear up under the blood of the cross and the word of Jesus Christ, and lift up your talent and say, this is the day that the Lord has made. And when you switch that process, demons tremble and hell gets nervous. Curses are broken and yokes are destroyed. People are set free and your life is built over again. Do you have the courage? Somebody shout, yes! When God gives you an opportunity, you need to work your magic on it and turn it into something. Brother 5 turned it into 10. Brother 2 turned it into 4. And Brother 1, well, he kind of messed up my story a little bit because he kind of just, what had happened was he never turned his opportunity into anything because of his fear. And the Lord sent me to ask you a question. What are you going to do with what he has given you? What are you going to do with the life he has given you, and the talent he has given you, and the time he has given you, and the influence he has given you, and the gifts he has given you, and the resources he has given you, and the creativity he has given you? What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? There's somebody in the hospital wishing they could be where you are right now. There's somebody on a breathing machine wishing they could be where you are right now. But look at you. I know you got some problems, and I know you got some issues, but you combed your own hair. You got up out of the bed. You brushed your own teeth. You dressed yourself. What are you going to do with what God has given you? Anyway, the story goes on. The master took a journey, went into a far country, and he came back. When he came back, walked up to brother number five. Brother number five said, hey, I've been waiting on you to get back. Got something to show you. Remember when you gave me 5? Shazam! I'm bad. He did that little Michael Jackson thing. 10. Brother number 2 said, excuse me, let me show you some. Shazam! 4. I imagine in my mind, brother number 10 looked at brother number 4 and said, how can you be that happy about 4? I got 10 and you got 4. And if brother number 4, if he had any sense, would have told brother number 10, I may not have as many as you have, but both of us have 100% increase over where we started. What I want you to see out of that is that God does not expect you to work with what he has not given you. God is not holding you to somebody else's standard. What God is holding you to is to work that thing on your level. You can't sit around and say, I wish I had more. If I had more, I'd do more with it. No, you don't have to give an account for what God gave me or God gave her or what God gave him. You do have to give an account for what God has given you. And rather than to compare yourself with somebody else, you need to work that thing on your level.
You have to write it down. It's a principle of success. Anybody can be successful. You just have to know the principles of success. See, I know the principles of success. I could stop and go start selling tomatoes, and I could go make a lot of money selling tomatoes. You know why? Because I know the principles of success. The second principle you need to know is you have to write it down. But that's the scripture. That's Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain, so that he who reads it will run to it. And even though it tarry, wait for it, for surely it will come at an appointed time. I don't know but 4-5, but I know 4-5 good ones though. Everything I've ever dreamed and asked God for, I done wrote it down. Everything I ever had come from a piece of paper, and everything extra I got come from his grace. I got stuff, he gave me stuff more than on the paper. But see, you ain't got no time for that though. So here's the exercise I want all of you to do. I'm just telling you how to be successful. This is how I did it. I ain't gonna take no course. I don't have no, I flunked out of school. I have no education. I got no education. You know, I did a commercial for Strayer University. I'm about to sign the deal, big deal. And the lady comes in the room, black lady, she's the head of marketing. She said, Mr. Harvey, before we sign this deal, I understand that you didn't complete your degree. I said, no, I flunked out of school. She said, well, I think it would be most effective if you would go back to school as a part of this deal. We'll pay you the money we said, but we'd like for you to complete your education. It would send such a riveting message to everybody. I said, what is I'm going to school for? What is I'm going to school for? I know that lady wanted to say, ain't it obvious? First of all, you stupid. I said, what is I'm going to school for? She said, to complete your education. I said, but what is I'm going to go for? She said, what is I'm going to go for? That threw her in the search. Yeah, what is I'm going for? She said, to complete your education and send a message to people about being successful. I looked at this lady, I said, ma'am, I can't go back to school. She said, why? I said, because I'm too old. She said, you're never too old to get an education. I said, but let me ask you this way. Why would I go back to school? Because what is I'm going for, you didn't understand that. So why would I go back to school? She said, to further your education. I said, why are all these people getting education? To have a better life. What course do you offer that's going to give me a better life than the one I got right now? Because right now, I'm making a lot of money with these jokes, lady, and I don't see why I would stop telling these jokes to come and go to Strayer University. She said, well, if you don't go back to school, Mr. Harvey, we won't be doing the deal. So I got on, buttoned my suit up. She said, where are you going? I said, you just said if I don't go back to school, we ain't finna do the deal. Clearly, I'm not finna go back to school. She said, why are you so insistent about not going back to school? I said, you have any idea how much money I make? Why would I stop doing that to go back to school? And then she made me mad. I just said, you know what, lady? She said, there are people with multiple degrees. I said, if you got one degree and it ain't working for you, Why would you go get another one of them?
If you are capable of causing depression to yourself, I'm saying this not without any concern for your illness or not due to lack of compassion, because that is the nature of what's happening to you. If you're causing depression to yourself, you are able to generate substantial amount of intense emotions and thoughts, but in the wrong direction. If you don't have very strong emotions, very intense thoughts about something, you cannot get depressed. It is just that you're generating thoughts and emotion which work against you, not for you. So you are strong enough to cause depression to yourself, because for you to cause a mental illness for yourself, unless you're pathologically ill, which is just a small number of people, rest are all self-created. Most of them are self-created. A few are pathologically ill, they cannot help it. It just comes from within because of genetic and other factors. Almost everybody here, if we train them towards a certain kind of thought process and emotion and push them a little bit with the outside situations, almost everybody will go lose their mental balance. They will become clinically ill. They can be driven to madness, I'm saying, because The line between sanity and insanity is very thin. People keep pushing it. You get angry, you're pushing the line. It's a thin line. In fact, when you get angry, you know you're pushing the line. That's why the expression, I was mad at somebody. You're not mad at somebody, you're just going mad. You cannot be mad at somebody. You're just pushing your sanity, the boundaries of sanity, and moving into insanity for a certain period of time and coming back. You do one thing every day, you try this. 10 minutes a day, try intense anger on somebody. You will see in 3 months' time, you will be clinically there. Yes, just try it if you want, because if you keep pushing the line, you go mad and you come back, you go mad and you come back, one day you're not able to come back, that's all. One day you're not able to turn back, then you're clinically ill. You must understand, even if you got angry for a moment, you're already ill. Maybe you don't get the certificate of diagnosis. They don't slap a certificate on you that you're gone, but you are going, isn't it? You think it's your right to throw tantrums? You think it's your right to get angry with people? You think it's your privilege to be depressed so that you'll get attention from somebody? You keep playing this, one day you will not be able to turn back.
From occasionally you may experience low levels of physical energy, and this can affect the mind too. The important thing is, first of all, when you talk about being depressed and so on, to see whether there is… what kind of thoughts are being created in your mind during that time. Ask yourself whether, or examine whether the certain types of thinking create that feeling of depression. Thoughts like, oh, it's all pointless anyway, or what's the point of it all, I hate this world, there's no point in even struggling anymore, I'm fed up, completely fed up with life, I can't take anymore. That type of thinking. Are you aware what is the relationship between the emotion that you feel and your thought processes? Are perhaps your thoughts creating that emotion? Or could it be that the emotion is creating the thoughts? So when you are depressed, there will be certain thoughts going through your mind, and probably there will not be pleasant thoughts. So be aware of the relationship between what you're feeling, this depressed feeling of sadness, depression, you feel dejected, and your thought processes. And if in the moment of thinking, those types of thought that accompany the feeling of depression or pointlessness, if you can be there and observe those thoughts, then again, as in the first question, answer to the first question, when you recognize those thoughts, you no longer completely believe in them. You recognize them as a conditioned movement in your mind, and then you may be able to come to an acceptance of whatever it is you're feeling at this moment, without adding the baggage of thought to it. So what remains then is this feeling of perhaps low energy, or it could be an activation of your pain body to some extent. You feel emotion in you that doesn't feel good, but you're then no longer fueling it with your thinking. So if there's enough awareness in you while you're going through a period of depression, allow yourself to feel what it is you're feeling, but be careful that you don't fuel it with your thinking. And if you feel what you feel, that's all you have to do is surrender to your experience of this moment. You accept your experience of this moment, which at this moment may be not pleasant, but that's what is inside you.
Practice bravery training. You want to be a great footballer. We understand you've got to put in the time to practice. You want to be a great chef. We understand you've got to do the practice. You want to be a great entrepreneur. You've got to put in the hours of rigor and discipline building your business. You want to be a great chess champion. Of course, they're obsessed monomaniacally with practice. And yet when it comes to fear, we don't live in a society that values bravery training. You don't really hear people saying, go out and use this day to practice becoming fearless. And yet, we all know the 10,000-hour rule. We all know the 10-year rule pioneered by Anders Ericsson at University of Florida, the preeminent researcher in the field of exceptional performance. And that 10-year rule has now been popularized by a lot of authors. But what he found was this: if you look at any great performer, they had one thing in common. They spent the equivalent of 10 years or 10,000 hours practicing their skill before the first signs of genius showed up. And so to become fearless, why not find some time every day to practice becoming fearless? Why not use whatever irritates you or frustrates you or frightens you during your day as bravery training? So let's say your supervisor walks in and says, tomorrow I'd like to give you to give a presentation on that project you did so brilliantly on. And start to pay attention. You notice you start to feel afraid. Develop the mindset where you say, okay, I'm going to say yes, because that is bravery training. Let's say you go home and with your intimate partner, you want to speak up. You want to say something. Maybe you want to ask for more love. Maybe you want to ask for one of your needs to be met because you feel it's unmet. But then you feel, well, what if he or she judges me? What if I get laughed at? What if they think I'm strange? Develop the mindset where you recognize that everything that scares you is bravery training. Okay, so what I'm suggesting on the first insight is really practice becoming fearless, and you will become a fearless human being.
However, make a special note of the two words, take advantage. That is what we must learn to do. Take advantage. Just because spring comes is no sign you're going to look good in the fall. You must do something with it. In fact, everyone has to get good at one of two things, planting in the spring or begging in the fall. So take advantage of the day. Take advantage of the opportunity. And read every book you can get your hands on to learn how to take advantage of the spring. And one more thought, get busy quickly on your springs, your opportunities. There are just a handful of springs that have been handed to each of us. Life is brief even at the longest. The Beatles wrote, life is so short. And for John Lennon on the streets of New York, it was extra short. But it is short. Elton John sings, she lived her life like a candle in the wind. They will take it, unless you prevent it. And that is the third major lesson to learn. Major skill to develop. Preventing the intruder from taking the good. Here are two key phrases to consider under the third major lesson. Number one, all good will be attacked. That's the first phrase. On this planet, all good will be attacked. And don't press me for a why. I was not in on some of the early decisions, so I don't know why. All I know is, it's true. Let reality be your best beginning. Every garden will be invaded. Not to think so is naive. Here's the second phrase. All values must be defended. Social values, political values, friendship values, marriage values, family values, business values. Every garden must be tended all summer. If you don't develop this skill, you will never wind up with anything of value. Last is the fourth major lesson in life to learn. Learn how to reap in the fall without complaint. That's number 4. Take full responsibility for what happens to you. It is one of the highest forms of human maturity, accepting full responsibility. It's the day you know you have passed from childhood to adulthood, accepting full responsibility. And learn how to reap in the fall without apology. Without apology if you have done well, and without complaint if you have not. That's the best of human maturity. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's the best. Now, I used to have some problems in this area, way back in those early days. I used to have this list of reasons why I wasn't doing well. To explain, right? Otherwise, you're going to look bad. I used to have this funny list called Reasons for Not Looking Good. I really did. I used to blame the government. You can believe that or not. It was at the top of my list. I had a lecture second to none. The government. I blamed taxes. Look what you've got left after they take everything out. Taxes, that was on my list. I blamed prices. That's easy, right? You walk into a supermarket with $20 and come out with this little half bag of groceries. That was on my list. I blamed the weather. I blamed the traffic. I blamed my car. I blamed the manufacturers. I blamed my negative relatives. They were always putting me down. I blamed my cynical neighbors. They were just selfish, looking out for themselves. Wouldn't loan me any money. I blamed the community. I blamed the economy. Hey, that's a pretty good list for not doing well, isn't it? I thought it was a good list. I will never forget this one day. Mr. Schoaf was very kind, but he was also very blunt, which was helpful for me. If he hadn't been blunt, I would have missed some things. On this particular day, with a kind of question mark look on his face, he said, "Jim, just out of curiosity, tell me how come you haven't done well up until now?" Excellent question, right? Well, so I wouldn't look too bad, I decided to go through my list. How I ever had the nerve to do that, I don't know, but I did. I went through the whole list. The government, taxes, prices, everything. He was very patient and let me go through it all. When I finished, he looked over my list very carefully and said, "Mr. Rohn, big problem with your list. You aren't on it." How brilliant and how true. When I went to work for him a few months later, I learned very quickly to tear up my list of reasons for not looking good and threw it away. And then I got a fresh piece of paper and I put one word on it: me. There's a Black Heritage spiritual that says, "It's not my mother nor my father, nor my brother nor my sister, but it's me, O Lord, standing in the need of prayer."
That little piece of hood logic was a little bit too much for her. People live wonderful lives with multiple degrees. Well, I'm not one of them. You've got to write everything down, y'all. It's an amazing thing. And let me tell you something else. Can I tell you something else? You do not have to change who you are to be successful. You have to change some things about you, but you don't have to change who you are. God created you very, very unique. I don't know if you all know this, but it's about how many people on earth? What's the number? About 7 billion? Listen to this. Do you know at 7 billion people on earth, ain't none of us got the same fingerprints? Who do that? Who can make 7 billion patterns and ain't none of them just alike? That's your God, your creator. That's how unique he made you. He made you so unique, you got your own set of fingerprints. It's probably been, I don't know, some billions of people that already died. I don't know. I'm just glad I ain't one of them. Billions of people have died. Guess what? Ain't none of them had the same fingerprint either. God made you uniquely you. See, I'm who I am. I don't use proper grammar. That ain't my thing. You know, when I got on talk show at NBC, you know, they sent this lady to work with me. What is it? A linguist? That's my son right there. I got him college educated because I ain't. See, I got money. So everything I ain't, I hire who is. And so they hired this linguist to work with me. And she came in and set her books down in my office. I said, "Ma'am, who are you?" She said, "I'm your linguist coach." I said, "Oh, cool. I always wanted to make that kind of spaghetti." This is a true story. This is not a joke. This is really a true story. I had no idea what this lady was talking about. So I'm sitting up there and she says, "What is that?" She said, "I'm here because NBC feels if you want to be successful in daytime television, you have to speak more eloquently. So I'm here to work with your grammar." I said, "Oh, I ain't finna do all that." She said, "Excuse me?" I said, "I ain't finna do all that." She said, "Could you say that slowly for me?" I said, "I ain't finna do all that. L-A-T. I ain't finna do all that." She said, "That's exactly why I'm here." I said, "Ma'am, what is you talking to me about this for?" She said, "Because your grammar won't sustain a television show on daytime TV. And so I'm here to help you become more grammatically correct. I said, oh, ma'am, you wasting your time. I ain't even bothered with all that. She said, excuse me? I said, I ain't really bothered with all that. She said, could you say that for me slowly? Sure can. I ain't really, I ain't really about all that, and I ain't with it. She said, oh my God, this is worse than I thought. Now I'm enjoying myself because I'm really not fitting to do this class with you. I promise you I'm not. Oh, this white lady, ooh. Mr. Harvey, that's cute. Stomping don't really scare me. I've been shot before. That don't. Mr. Harvey, woo. I tried to act surprised. Mr. Harvey, woo. Tried to just give her something. She said, you have got to stop this. You have got to speak more grammatically correct to be a success. I said, to be a success, I got to speak more correct. I said, let me ask you something. Which one of these sound best to you? I am broke or I'm is rich?
Somebody help me in here. Touch somebody and say, I'm ready to work that thing. I'm ready to work that thing. I'm ready to work that thing. I'm ready to come up out of my fear and my doubt and my worry. I'm ready to work that thing. I'm ready to work every day and every opportunity and every door he opens. I'm ready to work that thing. I'm ready to work that thing. In fact, touch 3 people and say, work that thing, work that thing, work that thing. Work it. Work it in the mission fields. Work it in the church. Work it in the ministry. Work it in the music department. Work it in the children's ministry. When you get back to your church, work that thing. It may not be big like this, may not have all the equipment like this. You may not have a lighting system. All you got is a flashlight. But baby, work that thing, work that thing, work. I want to get you so fired up that hell gets nervous when you pull out of the parking lot.